All right, let's jump right into this deep dive. This one's a real head scratcher, folks. The Tammy Myers case.
Yeah, tough one.
Tammy was, well, she was a young mother of three and vanished back in December of '06. Lots of twists, turns, dead ends, you name it. But we have a pretty unique source for this one.
Oh, yeah.
A true crime podcast episode that dives deep into Tammy's case,
Yeah.
talking to people who are right there in the thick of it all.
Sounds like we're in for quite a ride. I
Yeah.
mean, cold case investigations, a family fighting for justice, and who knows what else.
That's what we're here to find out, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Tammy and Ryan Myers. Picture this. High school sweethearts.
Yeah.
You know, the real deal.
Young love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But things took a turn when Ryan was in a bad accident. Medical bills piled up, couldn't work, the whole 9 yards.
Tough situation.
So Tammy, she made a difficult choice. Became a stripper to try to make ends meet, support the family. That's how she met William Greer.
Ah, William Greer, the vending machine guy. Seemed successful, showered her with gifts and attention. Classic, isn't it?
Almost like a textbook case.
It is, sadly. A vulnerable person targeted by someone manipulative. But there's something else that makes Tammy's case stand out.
What's that?
She was warned about Greer. His ex-wife actually reached out to Tammy and told her about his violent, controlling behavior. Makes you wonder, why didn't Tammy listen?
Well, I guess that's what we're trying to understand. What we do know is, from photos Tammy took and what her family said, that Greer was physically abusive.
Really?
But she tried to hide it, especially from her kids. Told him she got hurt in a dirt bike accident. But to her stepmom, she admitted something much worse.
Oh, no.
Greer attacked her with nunchucks.
Nunchucks.
Wow! That's brutal. You used to think about what Tammy was going through emotionally, too. Trapped, trying to protect her children from something horrifying.
And it seems like she was trying to figure a way out, you know? There's this evidence suggesting she might have been planning to leave Greer. She even took his truck and went back to stay with Ryan, her ex.
Ryan said they were actually talking about getting back together right before Tammy disappeared.
Adds another layer to the story, doesn't it? Was she trying to escape?
Yeah.
Did Greer feel like he was losing her?
Right.
So many questions.
Right. And then, 8 days before Tammy's reported missing, things take this really strange turn. Greer gets arrested. Public intoxication. But get this. While he's drunk, he confesses to shooting Tammy. He even told them, he told the deputies that he watched her die.
A confession while drunk, that's tricky. What did the police do?
Well, because he was intoxicated, they didn't take him seriously, didn't even bother getting a search warrant for his house.
Yeah.
Just a quick look through the windows, didn't see anything out of place.
Wow.
They released him the next day on bond. And that's when he vanished.
Wow. You can imagine how the family felt when they found that out. I mean,
I can't even. It's just, it gets worse.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what really happened until Greer's sons came home from their Christmas vacation. They told their mom that they heard their father shoot Tammy.
oh my God.
And that's not even the worst part.
There's more.
They heard him ask her, "Are you dead? Are you still alive?"
Chilling. And they dismissed his confession. If they'd taken him seriously, maybe things could have been different.
The boy's story, the belated search warrant, that's when they finally discovered the truth about what happened inside Greer's house. Bullet holes, blood stains, a blood-soaked mattress in Tammy's bedroom.
It's a stark contrast to that initial nothing to see here welfare check. Shows how much was hidden.
The worst part, they never found Tammy's body. So now it's not just a missing person case, it's a homicide. And a fugitive on the run. And that's how this desperate, years-long search began.
I mean, it's just incredible how Greer just disappeared, managed to stay hidden for so long.
Right. It's like he was playing this crazy game of hide and seek with the cops, for real.
Totally. A real-life cat and mouse chase.
The podcast really breaks down how he traveled across so many states, constantly changing his identity. It's amazing how he blended in, you know?
It really makes you think, doesn't it? It's like he was trying to erase his past, create a whole new life, even though he knew what he'd done.
It's a lot to wrap your head around. And the podcast actually shares some pretty wild stories from people who met Greer while he was on the run.
Oh, wow. Hearing those firsthand accounts must be something else.
Yeah, like take his half-brother, for instance.
Mm.
Greer went straight to him after getting out on bond, admitted to shooting Tammy, claimed it was an accident, even told him he'd buried her where nobody would ever find her.
Wow.
And then, just like that, he was gone, leaving his half-brother to deal with that bombshell.
That's a turning point in the story, isn't it? It confirms he did it, but doesn't tell us where Tammy is, just adds to the mystery. And it paints this picture of Greer as someone who uses people, even his own family.
Yeah, exactly. Then there's John Morales, who worked with Greer at a deli in New Orleans.
Oh, right, I remember him.
Greer was calling himself Billy then. Said he was on the road because his ex wouldn't let him see his kids.
Try and get sympathy. It's what they do, make up these believable stories so no one suspects a thing.
Yeah, classic fugitive tactic, right?
Yeah.
But eventually, Greer's true colors started showing. He started drinking a lot, talked about going to hell, got really erratic, even mentioned wanting to find a new wife and have more kids.
Oh, boy.
And get this, he said that if he ever found out she was cheating, he'd kill her.
Oh, come on. I mean, after everything that had already happened, that's terrifying, and it shows just how dangerous he really is.
Totally. Morales started getting suspicious, and then, boom, America's Most Wanted airs an episode about Greer. That's when he realized he'd been living with a fugitive this whole time.
Oh, wow. What did he do?
He called the authorities, of course. But by then, Greer had already disappeared. Again. All that was left was his cowboy hat.
Just like that. Gone. It's like he was taunting them, you know? Leaving a little trail of breadcrumbs, but always staying one step ahead.
Right. Okay, so then there's this pastor, Connie Jackson Osborne, from a church in Kentucky. Greer, calling himself Billy Leslie now, started going to her church. Even volunteered and asked to be baptized.
Trying to reinvent himself again. It's like he's using religion as a shield, you know? Trying to project this image of a changed man.
Yeah, pretty clever, right? But he almost backed out of the baptism when he found out they were going to take his picture.
He just couldn't help himself. Ironic, too, considering he was living across the street from the police station.
Can you believe it? Hiding in plain sight. But somehow, he managed to evade capture for over 3 years. Then a new team of U.S. Marshals took over the case. Fresh perspective, a whole new approach.
Sometimes that's all it takes. A new set of eyes, a willingness to try something different.
And that's where Operation Catch a Toe comes in. This Deputy Marshal, Leslie Raymond, decided to focus on something that everyone else had overlooked. Greer's missing toe.
His missing toe. Really?
Yeah. They figured if anyone saw a guy missing a toe, they'd remember it. It was unique, you know? Maybe even connected back to Greer.
Well, it's definitely memorable. You have to admire their creativity, though. I mean, their commitment to exploring every possibility.
Right. And Raymond was determined, pushed to get Greer on the U.S. Marshals 15 Most Wanted list, even offered a $25,000 reward.
Wow, so now they've got everyone looking for him.
Exactly. And then it happened. They got a tip. A reliable source in Mexico said Greer had settled down there, new identity, the whole shebang.
Finally, a solid lead. They must have been thrilled after years of dead ends.
They were cautious, of course. But this tip felt different. Since the U.S. Marshals can't operate in Mexico, they had to work with the Mexican authorities.
Makes sense.
The Mexican police put Greer under surveillance, watched him for weeks, confirmed it was him.
Wow, international cooperation at its finest.
Finally, after all this time, they got confirmation. The man in Mexico was William Greer.
It's hard to even imagine what that moment must have been like for them.
The Marshals planned his capture carefully. Took him completely by surprise one morning in November 2017.
The moment of truth. The end of the line for Greer.
Greer denied it was him, of course. But when they took off his shoe, there it was, the missing toe. Operation Catch a Toe had worked.
What a crazy ending. I bet they were ecstatic.
They were, admitted to even shedding a few tears of relief. They flew Greer back to Houston, and Sergeant Investigator Sid Miller, the one who'd been on the case from the beginning, tried to question him.
Wow, full circle.
Miller wanted answers. He wanted Greer to tell them where Tammy's body was so they could finally bring her home.
Of course. That's all they ever wanted.
But Greer, slick as ever, asked for a lawyer, refused to cooperate.
Holding on to that control even though he'd been caught.
So with Greer behind bars, everyone waited for the trial. Tammy's family prepared to face him, hoping to finally get some answers.
The trial would have been their chance for justice, for Tammy's story to be heard.
But then came a twist that nobody saw coming. No trial. A plea deal. And that plea deal changed everything. It's hard to imagine what Tammy's family must have felt. After all those years, waiting for a trial, hoping for justice, and then, bam, a plea deal.
Yeah, you can see why they felt betrayed. A trial, even though it's painful, at least feels like, a process. Evidence, witnesses, a chance for some kind of resolution. But a plea deal, it can feel like a shortcut.
Absolutely. And this plea deal came with a condition, a big one. Greer had to tell them where he'd buried Tammy.
Wow. That's a tough pill to swallow.
I can't even imagine. It puts the family in this impossible situation. I mean, do you make a deal with a murderer just to maybe find your loved one?
It's a moral dilemma for sure. It happens a lot in cases where the victim is missing. There's no easy answer. Families are often torn, wanting justice, but also needing to know what happened.
The DA's office believed Greer was telling the truth, that he really was trying to remember where he'd buried Tammy. But after all these years, the landscape had changed so much. It was a huge search area.
Time really does make things difficult in these cases. I mean, memories can fade, places change, and the chances of finding a body, well, they just get slimmer and slimmer. It's heartbreaking.
I spent 3 days searching this area near where Tammy grew up. A place filled with memories, good ones, bad ones. It must have been so emotionally draining for the family.
Yeah, can you imagine going back to a place that holds so much meaning, knowing what happened, and still not finding her? It's awful.
And in the end, they found nothing. But here's the worst part. Greer still got his plea deal.
No.
He pled guilty to manslaughter. Got 10 years, but with time served, he could be out in as little as 3.
Oh my God, that's not justice.
It's really hard to understand. I mean, he didn't even keep his part of the bargain.
It really highlights the flaws in the system. Sometimes even when they catch the guy, it doesn't feel like justice prevails,
It's just not right. But there's one person who refuses to give up. Tammy's daughter, Nikki. She's become this incredible advocate for her mother. Never stops searching.
It's amazing. She was only 7 when Tammy disappeared, and now she's this force to be reckoned with, keeping her mother's memory alive, fighting for answers.
At Greer's sentencing, Nikki delivered this powerful victim impact statement. She looked him right in the eye and demanded answers. Talked about her anger, her pain, everything. Challenged him to find some shred of decency and tell them where he'd buried her mother.
Oh, that must have been so intense. I mean, confronting the man who took your mother from you, demanding answers, I can only imagine.
Throughout the whole hearing, Greer just sat there, stone-faced. No emotion, no apology. It left Nikki and her family with this gaping hole,
The emptiness that never goes away. He got his 10 years, but they're still left wondering, still searching.
It's just not fair. But Nikki hasn't given up hope. She's working with Texas EquiSearch. They're this amazing organization that helps find missing people.
I've heard of them. They do incredible work. They don't just use horses. They use all kinds of high-tech stuff, too. Sonar, radar, cadaver dogs, the whole works. It's a whole team dedicated to finding the missing.
They haven't found Tammy yet, but they keep searching. Nikki's determination is incredible. She's holding on to that tiny bit of hope that maybe, just maybe, one day they'll bring her mom home.
It's a testament to the strength of the human spirit,
Yeah.
That even when things seem impossible, we keep hoping, we keep searching. It's powerful.
This case, even though it's incredibly sad, it makes you think, doesn't it? It shows you how complex the justice system can be, how these unsolved mysteries impact people's lives, and how important it is to never give up hope, even when it feels like there's none left.
We're left with so many questions, don't you think? What would we do if we were in Nikki's shoes? Would we be able to go on, knowing we might never get answers? And what about Greer? What's he going to do if he gets out? Will he try to blend in, or is he still a danger? It's something to consider. It makes you wonder.
It's a tough one, that's for sure. It reminds us how precious life is, how quickly things can change, and how important it is to hold on to those we love. But it also shows the power of resilience. This family's dedication to uncovering the truth, it's inspiring. The search for Tammy Myers continues, and so does the fight for justice.
I think that's something we can all learn from.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And hey, maybe it'll encourage someone out there to come forward with new information. You never know. Hope is a powerful thing.